Hello, and welcome to Think Fit, Be Fit podcast. My name is Jennifer Schwartz. I'm the hostess and creator of this podcast, where we are dedicated to effective thinking for potent exercise. Our goal with these conversations is to elevate the conversation about exercise. We are hoping to connect with intellectual exercise enthusiasts, whether you're a trainer or someone who just wants to exercise for your health and for the long term. One of the missions of this podcast is to be a part of your journey to break up with fitness culture and its diluted, shallow information. And to provide the audience, our community, and especially our newsletter community, with intelligent conversations from academic and evidence-based perspectives, as well as functional perspectives. What people that have been operating in the fields of exercise science, movement science, holistic health, how they have been approaching the healthy lifestyle. Through these conversations, you will learn about, like I said, movement science, exercise science, holistic health, and of course, how to be curious with your body and learn how to listen to your body. All of these things are the ingredients to help us think fit and be fit. Today's guest is actually my acupuncturist. His name is Matthew Stampe. He is located in Virginia, and I see him twice a month for my own energy management, my health management, and I am very pleased with the results. He is very talented and very intuitive and, of course, extremely knowledgeable and passionate about acupuncture and Chinese medicine. He began training as early as 1990, and that includes the healing arts, movement arts, martial arts, and being he's like a shepherd of, moving energy physically. And I just think that's such a cool concept. He is a veteran, competitor in the forms, weapons, and full contact fighting. He's trained MMA, Muay Thai, boxing, but also can be a healer. And he is also a certified massage therapist. He's the only person I let touch me in the massage form. So myself as a neuromuscular therapist, that should mean something. I really don't get massages, and I've only let him do it because it's part of his approach with acupuncture. The reason I brought him on here is because he understands the athletic mindset and how this type of medicine can contribute to living fully and living with a health embodiment and approaching life with balance. I really believe he can teach us this, and that's why he is here. You can check him out at taichiclub.live. That's TAIJI club.live. And you can sign up for his newsletter there. You can also see him in Alexandria, Virginia, right where I get my acupuncture, at novaacu.com. That's NOVAACU.com. While you're checking him out, please head on over to thinkfitbefitpodcast.com or impactyourfitness.net to sign up for our upcoming home exercise webinars. I am organizing these free webinars to help us upgrade our home exercise with knowledge from physics, exercise mechanics, and my own training experience in quarantine, and of course from the strength and conditioning side of it too. So what you can expect from this webinar is strategy and tactics to upgrade your home exercise, which includes bands, body weight, and very simple items like that. So now more than ever, my mission is to provide a portal to a world of improved self-care and high-quality fitness. And to do it with something as empowering and as fundamental as education. So I look forward to seeing you there. Sign up at impactyourfitness.net or check out the newsletter where you will get your exclusive invite at thinkfitbefitpodcast.com. Without further ado, here is my acupuncturist and my guest, Matthew Stampe of Nova ACU and Tai Chi Club.live. I look forward to hearing from you and all that you learned from this episode. Enjoy. Like to just start by saying, well, thank you so much for doing this. And it's really exciting for me because you're my acupuncture practitioner and having your ear is something I think is valuable. Mm-hmm. And secondly, for the balance and just overall health that I've gotten from our recent sessions, I'd say probably, for the first, I think since the beginning of the year, I've been coming pretty regularly, and my body and all of me thanks you so much for the good work you're doing.
You're welcome.
Matt, can you please introduce yourself to our lovely audience? And I would love to know, what is your definition of health?
Sure. My name is Matthew Stampe, and I started getting into acupuncture almost 30 years ago. My sister introduced me to a guy teaching martial arts in the park, and it just happened to be a Tai Chi instructor. His name was Wilson Pitts, and he told me that there was an acupuncturist that was going to be coming into town to see her old students, and in order for me to get acupuncture, I had to do the special diet. And so the diet is based on chi energy, something that we don't understand in the West, but basically it's our vital energy. And the way I like to describe to Westerners vital energy is, think of when you go to the doctor and you get your vital signs checked. How's your body temperature? What's your heart rate? What's your breathing rate? Your oxygen? Things like this. So when your vitals are working fine, all those things are working fine. And so, so for instance, you go to the doctor, you get your blood pressure checked. You don't want it to be too high or too low. You want it in the right range. You want your heart rate at the right range. Your oxygen levels and your body temperature. When those things are out of whack, then you want to go see a doctor and try to find some balance with those things. Okay? So when I first saw Amy, I was a vegetarian, and I used to be a competitive skateboarder, and I broke my wrist. So I went to go see her, and of course, Wilson told me to do the diet. And so I did the diet, but she's still, in Oriental Medicine, they kind of look at your tongue, they feel your pulse, they'll ask questions, and she felt my pulse, and right away she said, "You're weak. Ooh. You're malnourished." And really emphasized, you need to eat meat. She said, "You're not a monk. You live by, I was going to school. You work, you go to school, you need as much energy as you can get." So, but this isn't like go out to the barbecue and eat a pound of meat. This was like, it's about how the food is cooked. Steamed, simmered, soup, stews, boiling. It's not like cooking the food under direct fire or oily, greasy, deep fried foods. And it's not the other end as well as like raw vegetables and salads. It's how the food is prepared. So when it's steamed or it's cooked or boiled, it's soft and it's really easy to digest for your stomach. And that's how you get your energy. So if you get a stew in the wintertime, you're going to feel kind of charged and energetic. So that's the main thing with the food. And so when you get acupuncture, when you have that good internal energy, then the acupuncture is going to move it. But if you're weak and you don't have that good vital chi, then, it's not going to be a huge benefit.
Yeah. So you were talking about like your introduction to acupuncture. So when did it click for you that like vital chi was going to be a part of like your personal health like philosophy?
After the first acupuncture treatment,
Yeah.
I went there for pain in my left wrist, broke it from the skateboarding, but I was convinced the moment she put a needle right here, yin tong, right at the third eye area, it went instant red. Oh. And she's like, "You think too much." and I felt a sense of calm like I've never felt as a meditator, as someone who's into like sitting meditation and Tai Chi and Qigong, all these things. She reintroduced me to a state of calm I wasn't able to do on my own. So I more fell in love with the psychological effect than I did the stopping of pain. So that's kind of where I started, and then a lot of Wilson's students who saw Amy, a few of them were now acupuncturists. Like she was a very important person in a lot of our lives because she taught us about the diet, taught us about some pressure points. Wilson and her taught about Tai Chi, meditation, all these things working synergistically to improve health.
I could go in a couple different directions here. So one of the things that perked my ears was thinking about using acupuncture and Chinese medicine from a food first approach. And that's something I've heard, and read. I've also heard it from you. So I'm looking at this list of brainstorming ideas, and some of this stuff we've talked about in my own personal health session. So we might, I get it. And second, the other thing I thought of, what was it? When you were talking about like managing energy and thinking of that as your, how it really helps you. And that's what I think can really help the listeners is understanding what our energy is and what the difference between, different aspects of our health. Because that's like one of the most beautiful things I've noticed about Chinese medicine is the representation of the environment and our electrical body and our emotional body. And and if I have a sore throat, the Chinese medicine dictionary, let's just call it, you guys have like 18 definitions for a sore throat. I know I just made up that number. Whereas if you go to the Western medicine doctor, you say, I have a sore throat, and they have one light and 2 tests to run you through. And like, that's the end of your appointment.
Right.
So yeah, I know I just opened up like a huge can of worms.
Well, let's circle back because you rang a bell. What Amy would say is no matter what you do, whether you're sitting at a desk all day or you're an athlete or whatever job you do, it takes chi. And you got to have that breakfast. You can't be skipping meals. You have to have those 3 meals a day, and they have to be good, healthy meals. Because your food is your number one source of chi in the Oriental medicine.
Yeah.
And then we have supplements like herbs you can take. She recommends like ginger tea in the morning or peppermint tea at night before you go to bed. And there's some other common herbs we can talk about. But what these do is they help balance your energy. What she's seeing in most Americans are 3 things. One is the cold type person. This is like the vegetarian. They're eating a lot of salads, a lot of raw vegetables, but they're tired a lot, hard for them to get out of bed. They lack the energy to do things. Then there's the person on the other end of the scale. There's the fire or the hot category person. They might be eating a lot of the hot category foods. They seem like they have a lot of energy. They're very robust, really outgoing, but they get burned out in the end. And then there's people eating both extremes, cold and hot. And what they're seeing is they're very perfectionistic, but there's no way to be perfect. They stress themselves out by trying to be perfect and they can think a lot of things, but they don't have the energy to pull it off.
Yeah. So, it's like there's too many files to sort.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So what was the third one? I think I kind of missed it.
We call it empty fire.
Empty fire.
So
Okay.
they might be having a little bit of both extremes. And so the remedy to this, as Amy says, is to eat the foods in the cool and the warm categories. Now, in Oriental medicine, we want to eat according to the seasons. So because it's summer, you can have a little bit of the cold foods, but focus still more on the warming and the cooling foods. And then in the wintertime, when it's really cold, you can have some of the hot foods, but still stick with the warming foods.
Okay. Yeah, and I've seen, like, you mentioned that several times, and now when you say, like, eating in this aligned way, and then I come and get acupuncture, everything moves around better.
Right.
And so what do you mean by everything? What, like, you know, like the chi, like, how do you explain this to someone who hasn't experienced it?
Right. There's, and then even in Oriental medicine, we have many definitions of chi. There's many types of chi. So there's the chi that you inherit from your parents. It's kind of like genetic. And
genetic chi, I like it.
Right.
Okay.
You know, we inherit those qualities from our mother and father. There's the chi we get from food. There's the chi we get from air. And then we get, and some of those mix together, and then it's spread out through the body from the heart. So the food comes down to our stomach. It's sorted out from the spleen. The spleen takes that chi, sends it to the heart, where it's combined from the chi from the lungs, from the air, and then that's spread out to the whole body. That's why I have a little note here for our athlete friends here. And so that is to, in Oriental medicine, it's actually recommended to eat before you work out, because you're getting all that nutrients. And then in the Oriental medicine, they say the spleen distributes the food to the four limbs. And so that's why they think it's actually better to have some food before you work out, so those nutrients can get to your muscles.
Yeah. So that is like having a strong core, right? You can't really move the peripheral limbs if there's not a stable base.
Right.
So you want to think about, because I think a lot of the listeners are, you know, I call them fitness intellectuals, where they're curious beyond I call the one-dimensional diluted fitness advice and nutrition advice out there. They're interested in how their body alchemizes. They're interested in self-improvement as like a lifestyle. And then we have a whole nother group of folks that I've identified as basically new trainers. Because some of my clients that I use MAT with, they are able to guide their own workouts even better than some of the trainers I've met in my career. So I kind of put all those people in one category. So I think knowing how to alchemize and how it does alchemize is like a pretty cool.
And this is internal alchemy. This knowledge comes from the Taoist monasteries that studied the energy of food and herbs for centuries. This isn't a diet that's been around for 10 years. This is something that's been around for a couple thousand years.
Thousands. Yeah.
And so with that, I wanted to mention something you just said yourself, the core. And that's what Amy would always say for us if we're going to work out, is to start with our core. Maybe do some ab works first and then work your way out. And in Tai Chi and Qigong, we always start with our core too. We call it the Dan Tian.
Sure.
It's the lower diaphragm breathing. And there's a couple different ways of breathing. We can just breathe normally, inhale, exhale, and the belly comes in and out like a baby, like a baby's belly. And then we have something called reverse breathing, where we inhale, squeeze in, exhale, relax. And so these are used in Tai Chi and Qigong as internal alchemy cultivation of the Qi.
Yeah, and if you guys haven't experienced Tai Chi, I don't know. I would recommend that people do it. Obviously, you do. I have some experience with it, and you can really feel your energy move. It's such an intentional, cool way to get to know your body.
And it's a good warm down for the athletes too. So, you know, say like you're going to do your power lifts, your bench presses, and your, military
big
presses.
lifts, yeah.
It's a good way to warm down. I would say don't do the reverse. Don't do your Tai Chi and then then go do weightlifting.
Yeah.
But it's a great way to warm down, cool down.
Yeah, specifically the breathing stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, I always think of it in the benefits of grounding.
Yes.
And that's something I've been kind of touching on a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly a lot of this stuff is reminders for me.
And that Dantian breathing is like you come back to your center. Your energies, when you're working out and you're sweating and you're doing all these things, your energy's all over the place in your body. And then when you focus your mind, focus your posture, and your intention on that Dantian center, you're collecting everything back to your center.
How do you spell that?
Dantian, Dantien.
Okay, got it. Yes. Yes. So, that brings up a really interesting subject, which the Dantian is the lower abdominal. Mm-hmm. This is connected to the vagus nerve.
Right.
The breathing you'd mentioned, and this and breathing has having a moment in like health,
Right
health science pop.
Right. Uh-huh.
And so I think it's really cool if we could spend like a couple minutes going into that a little bit more.
Right.
And then you also mentioned like the second brain in our brainstorming sesh.
Right.
And I think, man, that is such a interesting topic. It's something that most people don't know about, that, part of their nervous system is in their stomach. Right. And that, but I'm so curious about, we'll get back to that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really curious about, how you utilize massage and moving around energy as well. That kind of all fits into this, right?
Right.
Yeah.
When I went to massage school, my teacher was also a Tai Chi teacher at the time, and she taught Tai Chi massage. That when we do the strokes, we're actually doing Tai Chi moves with our whole body, from just like the classics say, from the foot through the legs, up the back, out our hands. Mm-hmm. And so when I do massage work, what I call Tui Na, on my patients, I will do some of those movements, whether I'm pushing down the back or up the leg or up around the arm, to kind of stimulate the muscle tendon channels that the Oriental Medicine describes. And so I feel like adding a little bit of that Tui Na into my session is going to help the patient more than just sticking a needle in them and walking away. Mm-hmm. If I can, look for areas of tension in the back, in the legs, in the arms, then it's going to enhance the acupuncture session.
It enhances your information too, like what you have access to beyond the vitals of the pulses, I think you all call it,
right? And
the tongue color and texture.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's the first time I've experienced it. You're certainly not the first acupuncture practitioner that I've used. I've been using it somewhat regularly for, let me see how long. How old was I? I want to say 2013. I've been using it pretty regularly with Linda and whomever she's had working with her. And my first experience with it was an ailment, which was like a summer hay fever allergy. That was the first time I'd had acupuncture. Before that, I'd kind of fallen in love with the whole entire holistic Oriental medicine approach, because I had encountered Tai Chi and the herbal end of it probably 10 years before that.
Okay.
And I threw myself into a few textbooks about Chinese medicine that I almost went to naturopathic school based on being how fascinated I was by the mind, body, spirit, energy approach.
Right.
Yeah. And so part of this podcast is really being able me to share that fascination. I think, the more we fall in love with these processes, the better.
And I wanted to circle back on something you said, like the gut as a second brain. I recently saw on Amazon Prime, there was a series. One was called Guts, the Second Brain, and there was another one called It Takes Guts, and another one, The Fascinating World of Hormones. And all these talked about the recent scientific research going on with the gut biomes and the gut bacteria. We have healthy bacteria in our gut. And when I say gut, I want to say our intestines. And these are kind of like there's a symbiotic relationship we have with this. As long as we give these gut biomes good, healthy food, they give us good things back. But if we're eating junk food, processed foods, and just, all this fast food stuff, then we're killing those gut biomes. The indigenous cultures that live off the land, those people have the highest amount of healthy gut biomes.
Yeah, and they've studied that. They've gone out and collected poo, basically, to test it, and looked at the diversity of the bacteria.
Right.
And it's just going into such an interesting place because now we're seeing dominant bacterias. The scientific community is seeing an overgrowth of one type of bacteria.
Right.
And that and it goes with a population, like being overweight or depressed or
inflammation in the body.
Yeah,
that's a big one I'm seeing.
Yeah, and so when I was doing my research for this, I remembered learning about the enteric nervous system. And so that is exactly what you're saying. It's the second brain, and it is regulated by these thin little membranes around our intestinal walls.
Right.
And that it's so thin. Most people cannot even fathom how thin our skin is, let alone like the microscopic chemical barrier. So small, guys, and it's so integral to a healthy body, healthy mind.
Right. And it has an effect on our food choices. So sometimes if we're eating that junk food, it affects those gut biomes, and it gives us bad signals to want to eat the wrong things. So these gut biomes, we're eating the wrong things, we're killing them, they're getting restless, and then they want you to dump more calories, more junk food in there, and it becomes a vicious cycle. And what happens is it gives your body and your mind the wrong signals. So you might have these cravings for things that you don't need. Like people have these chocolate cravings. I want to have chocolate because I want to have more energy, and what's happening is they're eating the chocolate, they're having the energy, but then they're getting burnt out at the end, and then it becomes a vicious cycle, and it's hard to get out of. You have to eat the right things. And like, for instance, sometimes I'll have cravings too, but I'll decide to just take some Chinese herbs or just some Chinese tea, and I feel a lot better. I don't have the cravings anymore.
Yeah, I do. I actually, when I have cravings, I drink thyme tea. And that was a gift from a friend. It was actually at the beginning of COVID, so this is a new thing. She was like, this is what everybody in China drinks if what's going on right now. And she is an acupuncturist in China. And nice. So that was, but even before that, it was like herbal teas is my go-to for cravings. And I even keep some here.
I would really love to see some research on the gut biomes and the Chinese herbs. And I'd be willing to work with scientists on that.
Yeah. What kind of hypothesis would you make?
I would just say, it probably helps the gut biomes be healthy and creates more variety of them. Again, you don't want to have too much of one. There's billions of these in our body, and there's hundreds of different types. So I would think that, they have an effect on that, the different types of gut biomes. So again, I'd have to work with a scientist. I'm not a gut biome scientist, but it is a fascinating because of the relationship to the dantian and another microsystem in the body that was featured in those films, which is abdominal acupuncture, which is kind of taking a resurgence and more research because of there's so many acupoints on the abdomen that they don't know all the things that it can do. Now that we have scientific method to research it, it's becoming an important microsystem to go along with the whole body acupuncture. Yeah.
I can't tell you, the abdominal points that you do with me are, I know that they're effective. And how long I have been on this road to like correct my digestion cycle and chronic constipation. I don't know if it's how do you guys define constipation now that I'm thinking about it? Because I know the Western one is like it's heat, different even from Mayan.
It's an imbalance of heat inside the intestines that might be causing the intestines to be dry. So what we want to do is restore moisture and that peristalsis of the intestines.
Yes. And the aloe that you suggested has been such a game changer. I drink like 3-4 ounces of it a day with coconut water, actually.
And ironically, in the Oriental Book of Medicine, the hemp seeds is what's good because the hemp seed has an oil in it that lubricates the intestines.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Would that go for chia seeds too, or is that different?
No, just the hemp seeds.
Okay.
They call hua ma rin. Or, this straight up marijuana seed. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That that didn't even. They're like totally different things to me. I forget that they're from the same plant.
Yeah.
Let's okay, so for the biome, do you now that it's hitting some pop science culture, are you getting your client, like your patients, do they seem plugged into this whole like my biome needs to be healthy, or people not really there yet?
I don't think they're there yet. What I will talk about is I'll send them a link from my website on the information that Amy provided, the same information I was provided 30 years ago. I just pass it on to my clients and say, read this. It's going to help your acupuncture. And the secondary effect will be the improvement of the gut biomes. So if you're eating in those right categories of food, again, avoiding the cold energy list and the hot fire energy list and just sticking to the cool and the warm foods, I believe that'll have a positive effect on those gut biomes, and people will feel it. I've felt it. I always tell my patients, I don't even know where I would be without that diet. So it's given me all the energy to make it through school, make it through all my board exams. It gives me the energy to do all the sports that I've done, all the way up to full contact fighting. So
yeah. I saw that on your that was definitely interesting. So was your art. I was surprised. I was like, oh yeah, look at all this cool stuff that he's gotten into over the years.
Yeah,
and
I was an art major.
Yeah, and that you've created a way to help people appreciate and savor the moments, and you're kind of doing it in the energy and the emotional way now, and that's so cool.
Thank you.
One more thing on the biome. So for athletes, how I often find that because people look a certain way, look healthy, and they have youth on their side, they don't seem to see that how they put energy and resources into their body might not be helping them. What are some good signs of dysregulated energy and food that you think it's just not common knowledge?
I think we'd have to circle back to what Amy suggested. If you are the person that's hard for you to get up in the morning,
yeah,
you feel cold, you just want to stay under the blanket, your chi's weak, it's not waking up, it's not coming out. If you're staying up late, having a hard time falling asleep, that's a sign. Feeling irritable or frustrated, you know, that same kind of feeling that you feel when you're in a traffic jam. We call that, in Chinese medicine, we call that qi stagnation. So it's the same thing, whether it's external out in the world, like a traffic jam. If you're having frustration, irritability, things like that, you're having a traffic jam inside your body.
Yeah.
And that's what acupuncture and the foods are there for, to get that thing moving, to get that, to break that stagnation. And the acupuncture needles is like a traffic cop saying, okay, you go this way, you go that way, you know, let's get to where we need to get going.
That's a great metaphor, actually, because I've tried to come up with my own over the years. You know, because the truth is, this project and passion project of podcasts that I have, it all started from it stems from the fact that I do one thing, which is muscle activation techniques, but I just appreciate my clients more when they take care of their body, and they appreciate my work more when they have less inflammation. So I'm very motivated to share what wisdom we have in our body. And that is another thing that resonates so well with me with acupuncture and just the whole entire approach. So we covered some biome things. Did we miss anything as far as like second brain and Dantian? Did I say that right?
Dantian.
Dantian.
No, but I just want to reiterate that. Let's see. One thing I wanted to talk about was how important it is to move.
Yeah.
Because, people sit in the office all day and they're in the air conditioner and they say sitting is the new smoking. So if you can't walk, I suggest, try learning some Tai Chi, try learning some Qigong.
Well, let's talk about the moving approach when we talk about an athlete or someone who works out hard and recovering.
Okay.
Like the next day, like muscle soreness, like how do we get stuff moving around, from your perspective. I've got my own philosophies, and some people are going to say jump in the pool, and obviously most of us don't have that, and so what's your take on that?
Well, I mean, I'm an athlete and I wake up stiff in the morning too sometimes, and I have a routine that I do every day when I'm letting the dog out or boiling water for my tea. And what that would be is it's a simple set called the Badwa Jenn. I have a video on my website that I do share with patients.
That. Can you spell it real quick or tell me the title of the video?
Yeah, BADUANJIN, Badwa Jenn, and I'll share you the link. And basically it's 8 simple exercises, and each one kind of is a light, low impact stretch.
Cool.
So, there's the front of the body. There's one's kind of like a squat. There's one touching your toes. There's one kind of like moving your back. It's kind of like range of motion exercise, soft and gentle. You coordinate it with your breathing. That is done from the Dantian. And they're very gentle and easy to do. It takes 10 minutes. And if I miss it, it kind of impacts my day. So I try to do that along with Tai Chi every morning. But usually I just do the Badwa Jenn first, and then I'll get to the Tai Chi later. How
much time do you spend on your own personal practice of that Tai Chi?
It depends on my workload. So there's a Tai Chi short form that I can do, or just some basics that I can do within 10, 15 minutes. If I have more time, then I'll get it an hour. You really need an hour of Tai Chi to really develop the skill, like the right skills for it. But just a little bit every day goes a long way.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. I feel like, you've got some cool stuff here in our notes about the moving. You've got Yi and Lee, and you have I think those are interesting things to talk about.
Yeah, because in the West, everybody knows everyone does Lee exercise. Lee is the strength of the muscles and bones.
This is my preferred method. Right. Yes, got it.
but we don't know enough. Like Americans don't do the Qi or the Yi stuff. The Qi is the strength of the vital organs, like the lungs and digestion, and then the Yi is the strength of the brain and nervous system. So,
it has to be like, we changed the name of the podcast to like, think Yi, be Li. Did I interpret that right?
Yeah, because Tai Chi does all three.
Okay.
You have to concentrate on how you're moving this body. That's very Yi, using your mind and your intention. And then the Qi is from the breathing. You get the breathing exercises. And then the Yi is you're still doing something physical that involves the muscles and bones and joints of the body. So Tai Chi is perfect in that aspect that it covers all three bases. But when you go to the gym, when you're running or you're doing your weightlifting, that's just all Li. It does take some willpower, though. It does take some concentration to get your form right on that bench press or, your deadlift. You want to use good form. But the Chinese way of doing these things, it's a lot different. There's a lot more involved in, and it's called, what's it called? Proprioception, where you feel where you are in like time and space and where you're moving. So
yeah. That just brought up some interesting images in my head. If you watch weightlifting, like as a sport, the Chinese dominate, by the way.
Interesting.
They're really good. And I'm not sure if it's from the herbs or whatever they're taking, but
I'm
it's
pretty sure
impressive.
I'm pretty sure they have coaches that are, the Western minded training, and they probably have some Chinese doctor in the background who's influential in their training as well.
Interesting. So if we were to place a Chinese focused acupuncturist and practitioner into an integrative approach for sports, what would that look like?
I think it would help performance. I really do. It would be interesting to know what athletes are doing things. I mean, we know Michael Phelps was doing the cupping, and it's been, some of the stuff has been slowly introduced into the culture. I have a marathon runner who gets acupuncture. I give him the performance enhancing acupuncture, and when I get people who have limits, let's say like they are only able to run 10 miles, and I'm like, okay, well, let's do some stuff to get you running 15 miles. You want to enhance their performance and really help them work through injuries and get that vital energy going to get to the goals that they're trying to get to. Yeah.
I mean, I've come in with some swollen joints and muscle soreness and even asymmetrical muscle soreness. And those, the tightness that I have in my back on that right side, I'm not completely convinced that that's all mechanical soreness, just from the muscles, right? But it seems like a lot of things get stuck in the muscles, and we end up blaming the exercise for it too. You know what I mean? I know that kind of went to the other side of that conversation, but yeah, I just think that's interesting. What I would love to do is, can you explain a little bit more about the types? Because you have listed here wood, fire, earth, metal, water. And I just think it would be really, can you just talk through that for a second? Because one of the other things that...
Okay, yeah. It is related to tissues of the body.
Yeah.
For instance, the fire element is related to the heart and blood.
But we all have all these elements.
Yeah.
And
the blood circulation.
All of these elements are also in the aura and the space around us, right? And some some of us have genetically more fire or more wood, and some of it's nurtured in us.
Yeah, there's personality types, body types, and this is a way how they kind of classify things in the Oriental Medicine.
Well, it's like what you guys kind of classify people when you first meet them in a way.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like the earth element, that's the stomach and the spleen. So that would be, someone who they might worry a lot on the emotional aspect. The person that's the fire type, they might be short fused. They might have little patience. The metal element, that's related to the lungs and the skin. And so this person might have a lot of skin rashes.
But that's if it's off balance and whatnot. Yeah.
Emotionally, they might be a person more prone to grief.
Yeah. So on the exalted metal side of it, what is that? Is that being vivacious and excited and physical? What's the other side of that?
Personality wise, I think they're more penetrating. Think of an axe cutting wood. Their minds might be a little bit more focused.
Okay.
The earth element, just think of it like down to earth. The water element, that person's probably more flowing. Okay. The water element is based on the kidneys and the reproductive system. And there's another aspect water element, we have to think about in terms of, remember I was talking about what we inherit from our parents, that it's called Wan Qi. Well, this gives us something we inherit called Jing. Jing is our sexual essence. So it develops as we grow. Like for girls, it's every 7 years, and for boys, it's every 8 years. So there's a growth and decline through our lifetime. And so the power of our Jing is our sexual reproductive energy. And so we in the West, there's called the three treasures. There's Jing, Qi, and Shen. Shen is like our mind. Our Qi is that vital energy, and our Jing is that sexual energy, or our hormones. And so hormones have a huge impact on our mind and our growth. And we have to understand we have to conserve it too. We don't want to be oversexed, and we don't want to be undersexed as well, because that creates an imbalance. So people ask me, why do you look so young for someone who's 48 years old? And I say,
no.
And
I thought you were in your 30s. That's crazy.
And because when I was 18, I was given the instruction, okay, you have to balance your three energies, and so don't get oversexed. So a lot of times it's like that's what the monks would use. By understanding that, they're able to control their sexual urges through like the training of celibacy. Yeah. So just having the philosophy of like, I don't have to go out and have sex every day. Yeah.
Or the exposure to images and porn is
in the culture.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 38. I didn't really grow up with a lot of technology in my hand.
Exactly.
I can't imagine how much that throws off. Now that you've shown me this concept of Jing, that makes so much sense that,
Right. And that's what we try to restore for women that might be having a lot of anxiety, and we want to restore their Jing if they're having infertility issues.
Yeah. Got it. That the idea of balancing the body to the seasons, I also think is something really beautiful and unique that you guys teach and share with your patients. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, when in the summer you want to go out, you can wear less clothes and let the Qi come out of you. It's okay to sweat some, and but when it comes time to when the seasons change and it starts getting windy and colder, you want to keep your head covered, keep your back of your neck covered. Don't let the wind hit the back of your neck and feel cold. You want to layer up and keep the Qi inside. So, and then in the springtime, you want to gradually come out and open out, just look at a tree. The tree starts to grow and blossom. Like the tree is the perfect example of what to do. As the season, say like fall comes around, the Qi starts to going inward. So you want to go with that flow. You don't want to go resist against it, because it can lead to illness later on. So something that you do in one season, if you don't take care of yourself in one season, it might present itself as a disease or an imbalance in the next season.
Yeah. Okay. That's huge. What happens when you're competing in different environments? So what if
traveling?
Yeah, 1 month you're in Utah, and then the next month you're in Virginia, and you're supposed to be able to adjust and still stay competitive, or
there's
just
another
feel
one.
good.
There's another competing one that we don't think about in this modern age is the air conditioner.
Ugh. Yeah.
So we constantly go in and out of the hot and cold, like hot outside, cold inside, and this contrast, our brain has like a thermometer in there that has to adjust. And this is why they think in the wintertime people get sick, because their nose is outside in the cold, then they go in the inside, and it has an impact on the immune system. In regards to like if you're out in Utah where it's dry, you're going to want more fluids. You come back to Virginia where it's humid, then you want to eat accordingly, drink the right things, and just regulate your diet and your health.
And and like I noticed that when I was a younger trainer, I spent a lot of time in like the northwest area of DC, like the Farragut area, and I had a contract at a law firm where I would go to their like law firm gym and train people. Then I would go to another office building and train someone, and I would walk around. Like, it was kind of a fun, it was like a really fun job, actually.
Right.
I mean, I was solo employed, but like, so I would go to one law firm, you know, walk around DC, get to the next office building, and then I would do about 4 trips of that in one office day. That was kind of my day, and I definitely noticed that going in and out, and to the point where a lot of my symptoms have always manifested in my lungs and my sinus. So I'm pretty sure I'm like a dominant like metal and wood type.
Right.
And a lot of my stuff, and I've been able to confirm that in third-party types of sensitive medical testing I've had done. And you know, as you guys know out there in like listener land, headphone land out there, you know, I experiment with the wellness side of things. I want to know the optimal side of everything. I almost never want to have the conversation for myself. How do I get off this pharmaceutical? Like, I don't even want to get to that point where I have to rely on some type of pharmaceutical chemical substance to operate my body. That's my personal health philosophy.
Yeah.
I don't expect anyone
I like to try the herbs first, the herbal formulas. I'm really into, actually, when I went to acupuncture school and I was in the Oriental Medicine program, I started studying the herbs, and what they do in China is they do the herbs first before acupuncture. Americans seem to be the reverse. We'll do the acupuncture first and then the herbs. But then I really started learning the nature of the herbs, and it's very similar to the diet. There's cold, cool, warm, and hot herbs. And then there's herbs that affect certain organs or certain acupuncture channels. And I was really blown away because the Materia Medica has thousands of herbs in there, and you have to memorize every attribute of them. And I had one teacher, he made you memorize everything. And at the time, I was really hated it because it was so much information. But I ran into him recently, and I said, you know what, I thank you for giving me a hard time, because it made me better. Because when it came time to testing, I was like, knew that stuff.
That's cool.
So yeah, I really appreciate the herbal formulas, because in America we hear of an herb and it's like a superfood, like turmeric, and then I get a patient, I'm taking turmeric, and like in Oriental medicine it's like turmeric. Well, you take turmeric with like 4 or 5 other herbs to balance it, because turmeric is, of course, is good for blood circulation, and in India they have low rates of dementia because they use turmeric in curries and all this kind of stuff. But it can also be too much. So they use other herbs to balance it out and to actually assist it. So that's why the formulas are so important, is because they create more balance rather than just taking one herb by itself.
I mean, you've touched on something that's kind of really important for people to understand, is that the Western way of doing things can be very binary, can be very black and white. And I think that's another example of it, that we want that physical interaction before we prime our body to be really good at accepting the acupuncture and all the energy movement. Because sometimes I would assume that, you know, people's stuff just doesn't move around. It feels really stuck. They're spending more of their money, more of their time, more of your time when you're saying, just slow down. Let's prime your body for being flexible enough to even take on this medicine.
Right.
Because it's not going to be so invasive that it's going to change stuff right away, right? Taking the pill, swallowing it, getting an effect 20 minutes later. I know that makes everyone happy on some level, but it just doesn't work in the long run.
Yeah, unfortunately, the herbs, they don't have like a quick effect. You have to kind of take the tea. The teas are the best way to do it. You'll get the raw teas and you got to prepare the tea, and it takes like 40 minutes to an hour to deal with. But now they have it in like these capsules or powders. You can just put the powder and make the tea, and it's a lot quicker and easier to do. And
so you don't look like a pharmacist at your house.
Yeah. And so, you know, I try to get the patients to take the herbs, but acupuncture has the least amount of side effects. If someone's taking pharmaceutical drugs, I'm not going to recommend the herbs because I don't want the herbs to get blamed for anything that goes wrong. But if there's someone like yourself, you're not taking any pharmaceuticals, I would say, okay, let's try this herbal formula based on the pattern that you're presenting, and let's see if that has an effect on you. But I need you to finish this whole bottle, and because the result isn't instantaneous, like an aspirin or something, it has to, you kind of see it over time. You look back and say, oh, okay, I really do feel calmer after taking that herbal formula for 30 days.
Sure. I mean, it's a shame that people don't plug into their body in that way. I really think it's a shame. I am convinced that the better we know our energy and the better we know our emotional body, the more good we're bringing to the world, the better we're showing up, and the better we're able to take care of ourselves, which is kind of what the podcast is about, is taking better care of yourself. But really, self-awareness is something I constantly talk about, and I feel like acupuncture is a great way for Westerners stuck in that mindset to really gain from the ancient wisdom,
right?
And learn and flow with their body. I mean, there's nothing more beautiful to me. I definitely want to get to the marijuana subject that we wanted to talk about, and more. I think that was. Let me look through my list here. Hold on, headphoners.
Yeah. What I wanted to just say about in regards to marijuana was, it's becoming more accepted and legal worldwide, whether it's medicinal or recreational. There are some syndromes coming up. There's one called cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome.
Hyperhemesis, I think.
Yeah. Hyperemesis. And what's going on is it's similar to what we call stomach chi rebellion in Oriental Medicine, where the patient is, because of the toxicity, they're experiencing nausea, vomiting. And a buddy of mine, John, out in California, he's an acupuncturist. He's started a movement called Balance the Herb.
That's so cute.
Yeah, he sells a product that is a combination of different herbs, but really, I think you need the customized herbal formulas because everybody's different. I don't think one pill is going to correct everybody. So that's why I think the Chinese herbs, just based on whatever your body's presenting, whatever pattern, then we can customize a formula for you or choose a formula for you. But when someone smokes marijuana, it affects all the elements that we talked about. For instance, for the liver, like their eyes will get red. There can be some irritability or even some depression. Or the fire element, the person gets blazed up and their heart's all excited, and then they can get some adrenaline, and this can affect the mind and the sleep quality. The earth element is affected because the stomach, has those munchies, and then you start taking this high sugar intake, and this can lead to dampness, which is a Oriental Medicine pattern, and it can cause some weight issues, weaken the immune system. For women, it could increase yeast or urinary tract infections. The metal element, the lungs, obviously, because it dries up the lungs, and you get that dry throat or cotton mouth kind of thing. And so you can get the dry lungs, so there's herbs to restore the fluids of the lungs. And then the water elements, we talked about the kidneys and the reproductive organs. So it will deplete the sexual essence or the jing that we talked about. And it lowers the testosterone in men. And THC, it stays in the fatty cells, including the cells of the brain and the testicles. So, yeah,
because I've definitely heard that it affects testosterone, whatever.
Right. So that's why I was saying we can find a formula if you're a user. We can find a formula that can help balance that out.
Well, I think the bigger picture here is that, just like alcohol, because it's legal, we don't see the harm in it when, especially, if we go to an American college, you go to the football game and they're like showing advertisements for Bud Light. Like, and because it's associated with sports and it's just normal culture, we're like, cool, it must be like totally fine and acceptable. Same thing for the marijuana now. It's gone a total 180 from being a, poison, complete poison to society and to the body, to being this recreational, normal part of life. And none of us, me included, have had the wisdom to think, oh, what's that doing to my chi?
Yeah.
And, you were the first one to kind of bring that. I mean, maybe Linda said something, but, and bring that up. But, yeah, I mean, for me, that makes so much sense. I use it to almost downregulate my really active mind. I don't want to call it overactive because we're producing some amazing shit over here. And a very active mind. And honestly, it kind of replaced alcohol for me. And I thought I was like trading something better for something worse. And I've benefited greatly from that decision alone. So, that's kind of
well, we have to look
history.
back at the history too. I mean, when California led the way for making it medicinal, I mean, what were they using it for? AIDS patients who, couldn't eat, or people with cancer. They were getting chemo and they're losing their appetite. So there's a lot of medicinal uses for it. It's when you hit that fine line of use and abuse, or when it becomes a medicine, or when it becomes a toxin. That's where you have to draw the line and kind of know your dosage. So yeah, just as in anything, just moderate and just be aware when you're going out of your balance. Yeah.
No, that's definitely something I pay attention to. So I think a good way to kind of start wrapping this up, the integration of acupuncture and Chinese medicine, we've been talking about a lot, but it also helps a lot of ailments too at the same time. What is, like, if I said, how do I integrate the whole entire philosophy and healthy lifestyle of Oriental medicine, acupuncture, what does that look like?
Into a Western lifestyle?
Yeah, Western lifestyle.
We can look at the Tai Chi symbol for the answer. The Tai Chi symbol is the Yin Yang symbol. That's the real name of it, Tai Chi.
Yeah.
So try to avoid the extremes. Try to find a middle road. And within the other side, there's a little bit in the other one. So because you have the two fishes there, and you have the eye of the fish, and one's black and one's white, and then one has a white eye, the black fish, and the white fish has the black eye. So
he's trying to describe the circle and like the
yin yang symbol.
How it it's a synergistic symbol.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just a way to teach balance. So, for example, an athlete might want to, rather than train harder, train smarter. You don't want to damage your body into a way that is something can become irreversible. You want to, stay hydrated. You don't need to drink a gallon of water, but you want to stay hydrated. There's so much aspects to the mind, body, spirit that you can think this yin yang throughout your life.
Yeah. So the balance can be a thought process for everything we do. When we're talking about training hard and also training smart, it's the same conversation for me. I have to teach people how to notice and regulate their energy, how much they're putting out, how much energy is that taking, mentally. I know my everyday activities are different now because of COVID. It takes me a lot more energy to work with people right now.
And the only way to understand the chi energy that you're talking about is to be in the present moment. There's no other way to do it. And that's what meditation is. You're putting yourself in the present moment. Your mind's not in the past. Your mind's not in the present. You're just here and now. And then that's where you can really find a way to interpret your chi.
Beautiful. I guess talk to us about your treatment process, where I visit you in Alexandria.
I'm currently at Nova Acupuncture, 3343 Duke Street, and what you would expect on your first visit is first you'd call the office and we'd get your information. Your email is very important because we're going to send you some forms for you to fill out, like a consent to treat form, and then an intake questions for you to fill out. We want to know your chief complaint, any secondary complaints going on. You'll want to wear a mask. We wipe down everything. We sanitize and use disinfectants on anything because of the COVID. We have hand sanitizers around. And so when you come in, we're going to ask you some of the questions. Like, one thing I like to ask is, how's your energy feel? Do you feel like you're tired a lot, or do you need to relax more? Do you feel like you have sensations of hot and cold in your body, or any unusual sweating? How's the state of your eyes, nose, and throat? Do you have any allergies? And I'll ask you questions about your appetite and digestion. Are you having any constipation, diarrhea, acid reflux? Are there any bowel or urination issues? For women, I might ask them about, is there any pain during your period? Is your period either light or heavy? I mean, all these things tell us a lot about the body. And I also ask questions about the mental health. Is there any anxiety or depression you're experiencing? Do you feel like you're, easily angered, or you're worried about something or scared of something? And importantly, I'd like to ask about the sleep. How's the quality of your sleep? Are you having a hard time falling asleep? Are you waking up in the middle of the night and can't go back to sleep? Or are you waking up really early in the morning? All these things indicate a certain pattern that I can treat with the acupuncture needles.
Yeah. I mean, I've texted Linda Linda is the owner of the clinic that he works at, who's also one of my best friends. You guys may have heard of her on the podcast. She's one of the reoccurring characters in this crazy story. And I've texted her on occasion. I woke up at 3 a.m. 3 times last week. What's up? And she'll be like, lungs or whatever. Yeah,
that's the lung channel. Yeah. And we also, we observe the tongue. The tongue tells us a lot, and we feel the pulse on 6 locations on the wrist. So each wrist has 3 locations, and that will tell us the state of the organ. Does the pulse feel like it's really rapid? Does it feel really weak? Is it really easy to find? Is it really hard to find? All these things will tell us a lot about the state of the quality of what's going on inside of you. I usually tend to do the pulse last. My teacher used to do the pulse first, but to kind of wrap up my own hypothesis of what's going on based on everything else, and then that's kind of like the indicator of something going on.
Oh, yeah. So you're kind of making a hypothesis as we're talking,
right?
And then you check it when we're done.
Yep.
You do the pulses,
kind of confirm it.
That totally makes sense. I have 2 more things. Do you have time?
Sure.
We're good. Okay. One, can you speak to you and I have done some cupping recently.
Right.
Yeah, I really have enjoyed it. And I have also, I did feel a big shift with just the 3 or 4 times we did it. I definitely felt a shift in the body. And you were mentioning it for helping maybe deal with COVID if it did enter my, my biome, my body.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was doing some continuing education courses because it's required. And so one acupuncture was talking about cupping the upper back as to check the respiratory. And so I think what I did with you is cup the whole back area to see how much redness would come in, and to see how to help the circulation of the body, help release any toxins. The redder it was, you might need a couple more treatments, and then over time it won't be as red. So that's help moving some chi. What the cupping does, it's a negative pressure. It's grabbing the skin, grabbing the muscle, grabbing the fascia, affecting the blood vessels. And I like to see it as a way of getting toxins out, getting out stagnation, and forcing blood to move. So
yeah, I definitely felt some shifts. Like it was I could tell it was it was a good move or decision. And then what's different about that when you use it on like a muscle injury or some type of, I don't know, healing
I think it
thing?
can promote, I believe it promotes the healing. It just has a good effect of, again, like a lot of diseases are from blood stasis. So what we're trying to do is move that blood.
Oh.
Yeah.
Blood, like
blood stagnation,
moving.
blood stasis. They're actually two different things. Blood stagnation is more like that traffic jam I talked about. Blood stasis is when it gets too weak, like the blood vessel walls, where it's just weak and it's not even moving the blood at all. So we would have to use some blood moving herbs to try to get that going. Like one of them is Dong Quai or Tong Quai is how they might say it. And again, that'll be balanced out with other herbs. You can get Dong Quai at the health food store, but again, we want to use other herbs that help balance that out, because you don't want to just take Dong Quai, a bunch of it. You want to balance it with
like
other herbs.
People taking a bunch of echinacea.
Yeah.
Like by itself, and you're like, oh, okay, this is gonna help me. And you might make the argument, no, it probably needs these 3 or 4 other ingredients to give you the
maximum effect.
Yeah. And then when we talk about muscles, athletes, exercise, staying fit enough to train year round. I think a lot of people who have that similar mindset and similar goal have heard of dry needling, and it's kind of a hot subject. When a new patient comes to you, and some people might ask for dry needling. Do you explain the difference, and how do you do that?
I do. Well, I'm not one of the acupuncturists that is against dry needling. Needling is a functional medicine, and it does help the muscle. We call it ashy acupuncture in Oriental medicine. There's 3 types of acupuncture. We have these channels along the body, and then we have points along those channels where there's blood vessels and nerves, and these are special points, and they have special names, and they do special things.
That's usually like the map of the body you kind of see on the wall.
You see the channels. So that's the first type. And then we have special points. They do special things, but they're not on a channel, like the yin tong at the third eye or the tai yang at the side here, but they're not on channels. And then there's ashy acupuncture, where it's kind of like a trigger point, a pain point, a tender point, or a sore muscle, and it hurts here. Okay, we put a needle there. But what the dry needling people do is they might put it in an athlete having a muscle spasm, and they're kind of manipulating the needle to make the muscle twitch, to give that muscle a response, and then that can give them some relief. I've only had one teacher go through that with me. We all went through the acupuncture course, and we all learned all the different needling techniques. But one of my good acupuncture friends in Florida comes up here to do dry needling seminars, and it's like, Matt, you got to do this for your continuing education. There's a lot of good benefits from these techniques that the PT people are doing. So I'm not one of those people that are like against it. The only thing is, acupuncturists go through 1,000 hours of training, and then the PT people are just going on these weekend seminars and getting.
Yeah, I think that's what rubs people the wrong way.
Yeah, that's what rubs them the wrong way. And I've seen people, putting needles in deep, like in the upper back or around the kidneys, and that can, in the upper back, it can cause something called pneumothorax, which is like a punctured lung. So I think a couple people, famous people, have had that happen to them. So
yeah, there's been some new, like it's gotten some buzz, that's for sure. I had it, so if I had a nerve treated one time, is that kind of in that category? Like she had.
Well,
put
there's that
Yeah.
muscular neuro junction.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it is related.
Yeah, that's the only time I ever felt like a shock from like.
Yeah, you
doing
kind of
the
feel
work.
a shock. You feel the muscle twitch.
Yeah.
I think I had it done like I was one of the people that volunteered to have it for like my
Jaw?
TMJ muscle or
yeah.
something. So yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if that keeps that joint healthy, I mean,
Yeah, again, it's in that category of functional medicine.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not one to
Okay.
say no, you can't do that. You're not doing 1,000 hours. So
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. I just wanted to get your take on that.
yeah, because PT people they go through a ton of physical therapy training, anatomy, physiology, all that kind of stuff. So they're well versed in that. They just be careful on the depth of some of these sensitive areas, like around the lungs and the spleen and the liver and things like that. So
Yeah. I think we got through all the stuff that I wanted to get through. I, really wanted to say to you guys that, if recovery and maintaining your training levels and maintaining your health is part of your goal, part of your mindset, acupuncture to me makes perfect sense because it's a literal, I know it may not seem literal, but it is a literal body of work that helps you manage your energy. And like, it just makes perfect sense to me.
right.
And when, especially feeling energy move, like you said before, like the recognizing what balance is and incorporating it into different parts of your life, that's such a beautiful thing. I also would like to say to you guys that if you are coming out of your shell and you are trying something new for your health, first of all, congratulations, because that courage is not something everybody has. So while Oriental medicine may seem very different for you, it's been around for thousands of years. And I encourage so many of my clients and all of you to, get out of your Western medicine box and try this way of approaching your body.
And I'd lastly like to just say that it's built on 4 pillars. So there's the diet, nutrition, and herbs is the first one. Acupuncture is the second one. Tuina, or that massage, is the third one. And Qigong is the last one. So Tai Chi is a very dynamic type of Qigong. And so 3 of these things you can do at home. You can learn some of the diet stuff. You can learn some acupressure points. You can learn some breathing exercises and some, coordinating the breathing and movement. And then if that's not working enough for you, come see an acupuncturist.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I did. Like I did the movement and integrated some of the eating philosophies into my own eating. Way back when I was just self-learning and self-teaching myself about my body. My personal health story, what led me to that is I had a scare during, do you remember when we had like the swine flu?
Right. 2009.
Or the H1N1?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was the mid 2000s or early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
I was, having some manifestations of sickness in my sinuses, my lungs, and I was reacting to mold really poorly in my environment. I went to the doctor. They gave me this medication. It made it had such a bad reaction in my body. I literally thought I had that virus. Like that, it was an asthma medication. They gave me an asthma medication for, and I wasn't even having asthma. I was having a mold reaction. So I guess they can look the same, but it of course looks the same if you just spend 5 minutes with your clients or your patients. And then I did some self-study as to why that could have been happening. It was called Advair. That was the medicine. And I am not an internet whiz now, so I certainly wasn't back then. So I spent some time looking up, what could have caused that. And I just was overwhelmed by how much was overlooked. when I got that medication. And I immediately took out dairy from my diet and saw immediate improvement in my health within a week. And ever since then, I dedicated myself to being a student of the body and having the goal of health sovereignty. And so if you guys get anything from this today, maybe it's just my juju for my energy for having health sovereignty. I hope you do, because like the media and all this COVID news is scaring us, trying to scare us. Even
back in 2009 when the swine flu was impacting everybody, I didn't get the vaccine because I was hearing so many people getting sick from the vaccine. Same thing is going to happen with this COVID. They're rushing to get out this vaccine, and I would just air a word of caution to everybody. Just see how people are reacting before you go get this vaccine, because someone could be sensitive and you can die from it. So.
Yeah. Oh God, that's awful.
But I'm not opposed to vaccines. I'm not an anti-vaxxer.
Yeah.
I've had tons of vaccines myself, but just look at what the data is saying.
Yeah.
Look at the facts. In SARS, when SARS first came out in Asia back in 2000, the doctors were prescribing some Chinese herbal formula called jade windscreen. And so that's what I've been taking this whole time. It has astragalus and ginseng and some other things in it.
Yeah.
It's an immune boosting herbal formula. I've been using that. And, early on we were wearing masks. We were wearing masks back in January because that's what they did in Asia right away. And they learned from SARS-1 back then to wear the mask. So we were wearing masks early on. So when you have like these experts saying, oh, you don't need a mask, I was really scratching my head.
Yeah, that whole thing really perplexes me. Especially if you look at the data coming out of New York City, just under our own nose. Like this is, you have a good population to study right there. And people in New York are really following the rules, and they've changed the curve, if you will. I also, I'm just concerned that people aren't getting the right message to help their immune system and be a part, get outside and work out in nature. Tai Chi is a perfect way to integrate into your life today. And you can reap the benefits of nature if you're doing it outside barefoot in hopefully non-fertilized grass.
And getting some sun, some vitamin D.
And the movement. The benefits of mindfulness, the benefits of the restorative breath, right? All of these things are immune system boosters, by the way.
Right.
So that's the thing I'm afraid that people aren't getting,
That's really my final message to people is like, if you live a really busy lifestyle, maybe try to pick up 20 minutes of meditation twice a day. If you're sitting in the office all day, start building up to doing 10,000 steps a day. It's about 4.5 miles. Get that blood moving, get that air moving in your body, and get the digestive moving. So don't
go ahead. Sorry.
Don't stay inside too much. If you feel like if you feel safer wearing a mask outside, do it. I'm not one to say don't do it. So I think I got all my stuff in there, man. I was really happy to, again, preach the benefits of something that's been in my life and get your wonderful philosophy on, how to maintain balance in every aspect of our lives. So thank you so much. I will make sure to have all your info and your website. You have an active newsletter. Yep. You have videos and are very passionate about sharing those 3 ways to use Oriental medicine at home. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and Matt. That was so much fun for me. I loved learning some more stuff about something I respect already so much. There are some great links for you in the show notes that will give you some more information about how to integrate this amazing information and balance into your everyday life. Like he said, there are 4 ways to do Oriental medicine and Chinese medicine, and 3 of them you can do at home. I would love it if you guys check out the show notes. And also let us know what you're learning or what you want to know more about. You can do that by leaving a review on iTunes. You can do that by hitting us up on the social channels at thinkfitbefit_podcast on Instagram and Facebook. And of course, if you join the newsletter, you'll just be able to reply and hit us up that way so that you can ask those questions. You can get curious with us and figure out what's missing from your process. I would love to hear from you. And I hope to do that with you and have a wonderful week.